Welcome back to Scoop's Latest, where in every episode we cover different topics involving the guest that comes on each episode. I'm your host, Kate Ryan, and today I'm here with.
Reagan Smith.
Shelby Rosenhahn.
Today we'll be talking about development of romantic relationships and how to tell if it is healthy. So we're going to dive right in here. What do you guys think is the most important when it comes to developing a healthy relationship?
So when my boyfriend and I just met, we were both really honest with each other about like where we were in our lives. So if for starters, if we were both single and like looking, to see if we had that type of relationship that could develop into a romantic relationship, which was really cool. And we basically just founded it on communication and just being open and honest, and like just talking about what we're looking for in a relationship. We're both religious, so we don't really date just to like date anymore. It's more of like looking to be married in the future. So that's what we were mostly talking about like in the first couple months, and it just kind of grew from there.
All right. What about you, Reagan?
Yeah, so for me, when my boyfriend and I started just talking, not even dating yet, we built just that friendship just to start it off. Like we knew we were looking to date. Like I made it very clear from the beginning that I don't date just to date. I date to marry. Like that went for um, every relationship I had in my entire life. I always look to date to marry. Like I don't just do it just to do it. And he understood that, and he said he had the same morals as me, values as me, so that helped a lot. But just getting to know him on a deeper and just on like a friendship level really helped a lot, because not only is he my best friend, but he's also my boyfriend. So like I can communicate anything to him. He can communicate anything with me, and just I think the overall like message here from me and Shelby is just communication really is key. I know how cliche that actually sounds, but like it's just the hard truth.
No, I definitely agree with that statement. I mean, I have been single my whole life, so I guess like me saying I agree is like okay. I do think communication is key when it comes to developing that healthy relationship. You need a good foundation to start it off. If you enjoy being around each other, then I think that's a good sign to continue to try to push that relationship forward and try to work through the things that you guys have to work on to further develop that healthy relationship.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What are some signs that your partner is ready for a relationship and ready to take that next step?
Well, for me, it was like we made it known from the get-go. So we always knew that we were ready for like a relationship. We always knew we were ready just for each other. So like um I guess in my sense, like I put it out there like firsthand. I was like, listen, like um I'm ready for a relationship. If you're not, that's cool. Like whatever, we can still be friends, but like this is just something that I am ready for and I've been ready for, and luckily he felt the same way. Um but I guess like that saying like if you know you know, that is a very very true statement. Like it's just true. If you know you know. And that goes for if you know that you're ready, or if you know that he or she is the one. So regardless of like what you're talking about, it's just straight facts.
I agree with everything you just said. My boyfriend and I, we dated for a little bit in high school, and then broke up our freshman year of college. So we had a year off from each other, like no contact, no nothing. And then suddenly we just started talking again over text, and he invited me to a football game. And I went, and we made eye contact, and then I just kind of knew that we were both ready to, take that next step together and be back together, because in the end of the day, like I feel like everyone has that person for you. So when you like finally see that person, you can really feel it. Um, but yeah, everything that you just said basically sums it all up. But then there's also that like when you know, you know. So
Right.
Like you kind of just know that that
Right,
person is
yeah.
the one for you the moment that
Right.
like you meet them and you're around them.
Yeah.
That's why chemistry is so important. I feel like when it
For
comes to
sure.
a relationship, you can't just be like you can't just be attracted to that person. You have to really have those strong feelings.
Yeah.
I mean some feelings develop later, sure, but It really is just
Yeah, because it's literally on like so many different levels. You have to understand them. You have to like get to know them as well. So it's really on like the deepest level possible when it comes to literally anything in a relationship. Like you have to be understanding. You have to communicate. You have to be trusting. Yeah, there's times where like you don't trust your partner, and that's like totally valid. That's just human nature at that point. But like in the end, it's like you will fight for the one you love, and that I've learned that firsthand because God knows the amount of crap that we've gotten into arguments about. It's just even though they're the little things, but like in the end, like I know he's gonna fight for me. I know, and he knows I'm gonna fight for him.
Yeah. And it's also like we talk about boundaries a lot because we
Mhm.
don't want it to snowball into something bigger that you can't come back from. So, if something happens or someone says something that maybe the other person didn't really like that much, we'll just let them know. Be like, hey, I didn't like that you said this, and here's why. And this is what like I felt when you said that. And so it just allows us just to, understand where our boundaries are and like talk about maybe the deeper things like why did this hurt you so much, and like let's really get into it and get to know each other on a deeper level than just the surface, and not allow little things to become large things like snowballs. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, for sure. I think boundaries play a huge part too, whether what makes a relationship successful or not. If you're willing to work through your differences and understand that your partner isn't perfect and is going to make those mistakes,
Mhm.
and you just have that level of respect for each other where you're like,
Mhm.
all right, you made a mistake there, but
Yeah.
let's work on it in the future and
Yeah.
try to figure out maybe a different way to
Yeah.
approach that situation or handle that situation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, another thing about that, well, everything about you just said is that, like, I think, especially if you're on the outside looking into like these relationships, they think that you're perfect. I think that everything is perfect. Like, heck, I do it with Shelby and her boyfriend all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I see them at Hanging Rock and I'm like, oh, look how precious, look how perfect they are. But, like, God knows that they are far from perfect. Me and my boyfriend are far from perfect. Like I said, we get into arguments here and there, and that's just again human nature at that point. Like we're gonna disagree, and like when Shelby was saying, like, hey, like this bothered me. It's honestly is like a fight against like yourself to be like, well, I did this because of this. Like I thought it was right, but you need to literally change that mindset and like actually try to understand where they are coming from in order to make your partner comfortable whenever you're doing something wrong, and like focus on like what you need to do to change that about you.
I agree. And also, like, so I'm majoring in psychology.
Oh boy.
And a lot of the times my
girl.
boyfriend's like, stop psychoanalyzing me. But, like, I just think it's so amazing, like, how that works, though, because, there's, like, a deeper meaning behind everything. So just kind of being open and honest and being able to trust your partner enough to be honest about those hard things or those difficult things to talk about that maybe you don't really even talk about with your family. It's kind of really important just to let them in because it's just how you build a firmer foundation for your relationship.
Just letting that person in, letting that person really know and understand you. And I mean, that can be really scary to do,
Yeah.
to let somebody in and just see who you are fully and completely.
Yeah.
Because everybody has insecurities that they do not speak about.
Oh yeah.
I know I do. I'm sure you guys do as well. But being able to be that vulnerable with your partner is something that's just really special, I feel like, when it comes to those romantic relationships.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
How has hookup culture impacted the way people view romantic relationships?
Oh my gosh. I absolutely despise hookup culture. It's disgusting. I mean, just how I was raised, how I was brought up. I was always raised to, never go down that route. And luckily, I never did. Praise the Lord. Um, Honestly, I think, and this is just me personally, anyone can have a different opinion, but I think society in general views relationships now as more of like something that no one really wants anymore because of hookup culture, because all they want to do is get bodies, all they want to do is do this, that, and the third with this amount of people. and relationships are kind of like weak in a sense. And we're like, oh, so you're only settling for like one man, you're settling for one woman. Like that's kind of, weird. That's whatever. And it's honestly kind of sad because like people like that, if like they're just gonna be lonely in the end. That's just such a lonely life to have. And like I just can't imagine like anyone going about their life like just alone like that. And not even trying to be vulnerable with someone. Like I know like it's hard. Like it is such a hard thing to do, is just be vulnerable with anyone, like friendships, relationships, like regardless. Like it's just hard. But like being vulnerable is also just such a beautiful thing, especially when you're with like the right friend or the right partner.
No, I definitely agree with that statement. We are going to take a quick break and then we're going to come back to that question so we can speak more about it, because I think that's a really good question to dive deeper into. All right. So today I'm going to be sharing some facts. The first fact that I have for you guys is about heartbeats. A study from the University of California at Davis found that couples' heartbeats sync up when they breathe, and they breathe at the same rate. Another fact that I found talks about hand holding, and it says a study published in Psychological Science found that holding hands can reduce stress and nerves. I definitely do think that's true. I know I've held people's hand before, and I don't know, I think that it's definitely does reduce those stress and those nerves, just being, I guess, close with that person, especially if you do have feelings for that person. It does definitely help with that. Another study that I found says it talks about kissing, and it says that kissing regularly can increase the level of good hormones in the blood, which may lead to a longer lifespan. Shelby and Reagan can definitely relate to that statement. The next fact that I have talks about love at first sight, and it says psychologist Dr. Chris Hart says that love at first sight is not entirely a myth, but it's extremely rare. And I think that's really beautiful too, because I think I do agree that attraction does play a role with everybody's relationship, but if you really like look at someone and you're like, oh my God, I literally am drooling over this person, then I don't know, I just think that's beautiful. So we're going to dive back into hookup culture and the way that it's impacted people and romantic relationships. So I do agree that hookup culture is something that has definitely developed within more modern society. I do think that maybe it has definitely something to do with when someone isn't necessarily ready for a relationship. However, I think there's an extent where it gets to a point where it's like you just got to let someone in at some point. I mean, go out, kiss a few people, sure, do that. I mean, I would never judge somebody for the things that they have done. Everybody does what they do from different points of their lives for a specific reason, whether it's heartbreak, whether it's insecurity. Heartbreak a lot of the times plays a big role for why hookup culture occurs. However, it does come to a point where it's like you got to let somebody in and allow a serious relationship to develop. If you have been hurt and you have had your heart broken, you should still be like, maybe it's time for me to let someone else in. Maybe try again, because not everybody is there to break your heart, especially if you've been in a toxic relationship as well, because I have also seen some of that with my friends and all that stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you guys just said. I would just like to add that also hookup culture just like puts in this stigma of, if you are constantly seeing people and you're constantly going out and being intimate with a bunch of different people, you're labeled a naughty word. But then if you don't, you're also like considered like, oh, she's no fun.
prude.
She's a prude.
And there's also
which is really sad. I'm sorry.
No, you go. You.
Okay. Which is really sad because at the end of the day, like people are just really social creatures, and we all, express our friendships and our romantic relationships differently. So if you can tell your friends I love you, or you can like give them hugs, like it doesn't really matter how you express how you love someone, but when it comes down to being intimate with a person, like it's a really like scientific. It's like a really like intimate, like you feel connection with that person, and then just to let them go, it really hurts you in the end, even though you don't want to be that hurt by it because you don't know them or you don't see anything happening with them in the future. It leaves like a piece of you with them. So constantly doing that can be really challenging. It can be hard to come back from it, especially in a world where it's so accepted and it's like just like a classic thing, especially on a college campus. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think too, it's one of those issues where you're teaching yourself to numb your feelings because you're trying to not feel those romantic connections with other people, whether it's a crush, whether it's love, whatever it is. Embracing that is hard. People see it as weakness, but it's not. Not weakness, but to be vulnerable. People see it as weakness when it's not.
Right.
It's brave. It's braver than numbing your feelings and not speaking out about them. It's one of the hardest things to do, but it's definitely something that has to happen. I think it's hard. It's hard to witness sometimes when you see. I mean, you can't control everybody, and I mean, I do agree. You should. I mean, if you're a college student and you don't, if you're just really don't think you're ready for a romantic relationship, I can understand why you might want to lean towards the whole hookup culture. And again, I would never judge anybody. I don't think anybody's a prude. I don't think anybody's the slut. I'll say it. I don't think anybody and nobody's those words. We like to label society for the way people act when in reality, everybody's just trying to get through life and figure out what works for them. If hookup culture is what works for you and you're actually really happy with your life, which I don't think is possible, but if that works for you, then it works for you. I mean, I think some people are taking hookup culture and then they find the one and then they're in love and then they settle down. But it just depends on the person. And I think every relationship you partake in is beautiful, whether it's friendship, whether it's romantic, whether it's just something fun. I think there's beauty in everything. And our society just likes to label each other. There's also such a double standard when it comes to hookup culture, the difference with men and women. People want to erase the fact that women have sexual or romantic feelings for people. They think because men have the hormones that they do, that it's okay if they just go around and, partake in hookup culture and, be slutty. However, if a woman does it, it's kind of like, oh, why are you doing that? I mean, I think today, in today's society, it has changed. It depends on the person. I wouldn't be one to judge, but I do think that I hope that everybody can find somebody who makes them happy in the end, or find something that makes them happy, even if it's not a person.
Yeah, I fully agreed.
How do you tell the difference between your partner having a rough day and the idea of toxicity? I know you guys are both in, from what it seems, healthy relationships. That's why I asked you on today. But how do you know your partner's just having a rough day instead of being like, oh, this person's toxic?
Yeah. For me, it's he'll tell me straight up. So he also knows that I've also had it rough in the past, and this is also this is me being vulnerable on air. I've had rough relationships in the past, and it has caused me to think a certain way. And I've been dating my boyfriend for about a year and a half now, or going on 2 years strong. And it's been that entire year that it took me to get out of that mindset that he is attacking me and that he is after me in some sort of form of way. When he is not. I'm putting that out there. He is not. He is not. He loves and cares for me more than anyone in this whole world. But when he does have a rough day, or when he did have a rough day back then, I would think that, oh, he's taking it out on me. Like, it's just, my mind immediately went to that. And I couldn't really get out of it at the time. And I was like, okay, so like, why are you taking it out on me? What is this? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I would think it was toxicity when it absolutely was not. And he helped me get out of that mindset. He helped me get out of all of that. He helped me basically erase that entire like idea of toxicity of men, essentially. Because he also knew my past. He knew how rough it was. And he was patient. He was kind. He stuck by me when I know for a fact no one else would. And he helped me get out of that. And now I know when he's having a rough day, he's just going to be a turd. But aren't we all when we have a rough day? Like, it's just one of those days. But it's like, it took a while, but now I know. And now I know that it's him just communicating with me like, hey, it's been a day. It's been rough. I just need extra love and support today or tonight, like whatever. And I'm like, I got you. Like, I'll give you a nice shoulder rub. I'll get you food. Let's watch your favorite movie or favorite show tonight, even though it's Family Guy and American Dad, which sucks, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm like, yeah, let's watch that tonight. Like, you call the shots tonight, like whatever, like you want to be done, it'll be done. Like, I got your back. And I know vice versa, he would do it for the same for me.
Yeah, that's really great, Reagan. That's so sweet. I love it.
That is really sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I mean, try not to push your partner away when you're having a rough day. I feel
Oh,
like that's,
God, yeah. Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm begging you. Let's
Just
not do
letting them
that.
in.
It just causes more division when you try to push them away, and that's not what you want, because you are a united front with your partner, especially if you do know that he or she is the one. Like, you all are a united front, and y'all will fight not just for each other and never against each other. So it's like you're gonna fight for each other, whether it's against someone else or whether it is like actually against each other. Because I'm gonna be real, it is a huge mental battle in the end. Like, it all just comes down to where you are mentally, like, and if you're really willing to
Put
go
in
the
the work.
distance. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like, too, I think it's one of the hard things to do is to realize not that someone isn't there to hurt you, that this person is there with good intentions, because sometimes you can get up in your head and be like, oh, this person's only here to hurt me, when they're not.
Yeah.
And they're just there to love you. And it just depends on the person. I'm not saying there's not toxic people out there.
Right.
There definitely is.
Yes.
However, I think just open communication can help sometimes navigate those struggles and help each other grow. We are going to take another quick break, and then we're going to dive into some other questions. So I am going to read an anonymous story that I found. So it goes like this. He had a crush on on a girl from the first day of college. She was so beautiful and had the prettiest eyes, but he was not that attractive. So every time he thought about talking to her, sharing his feelings for her, he got scared. I don't know, maybe because of his looks or his introverted nature, but he told me once he likes her so much. He had never seen a beautiful girl like her. So one day he was going to talk to her after the class. She was sitting on a bench reading a book. Another girl from our class observed this very carefully and one day came to him. "You like her?" she asked. He smiled and replied, "I don't know, maybe." After hearing that, she got upset. After a few days, finally, he asked her out, and she agreed. After his first date, they became very good friends, and they started going out regularly. So that is an anonymous story, and we're going to dive back into the conversation that we were talking about before. How do you handle your insecurities when it comes to your significant other so that you don't project them?
That's so hard because it's so easy to be insecure, especially like in social media and TikTok and all this other things where you see all these like, you think from the outside, as we said before, everything is perfect. But then you really dive into it, and it's like when you post things, it's only like people don't post themselves on their worst day. They only post like the best picture. I know, being in a sorority, we take like 30 of the same pose and we pick the best one. So it's just really important to realize that when you're insecure about something, like that could also just be someone's goal in life. So it could be for weight, or it could be for your hair, it could be for your looks. Like nobody is perfect in like that, you know, like a model, like a fake, like you got photoshopped, you got like a whole bunch of different things happening, or it's not like reality. And like we're both Christians, like my boyfriend and I, so we both believe that like everything happens for a reason, that we're made in God's image. But to not project our own insecurities, like we're both insecure about many different things. Some are silly. Like I'm insecure about my bright yellow phone case. I've been trying to get a new one. It's so embarrassing when people talk about it. But it's just to be like open and honest. Be like, hey, like I'm not really feeling too good about myself today, and like here's the specific details. And it's just getting validation that, you know, nobody is perfect, but we're all made like to be perfect in God's image. So to not project them, it's just like also just being honest about it instead of just like saying mean comments about yourself to project it onto your partner, where it's like, oh, I don't like my hair color. Well, your partner has the same hair color, like, you know, it's going to project it onto them, and they're going to judge themselves. So just being honest about like how you're feeling about yourself and how you're feeling in your life about like mental health and everything, and just having those conversations, as we said before, just to be open.
Being open and honest.
Yeah.
Embracing each other when you're struggling.
Oh yeah.
All those good all those good things.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Well, I can speak for myself. I'm also a Christian, but sometimes I let my insecurities get the best of me, and I'm constantly talking about, oh my gosh, like I am so fat. Like I am so fat, and he always has to validate me, and I feel so bad just because like I know he means it, but sometimes my brain just will not let me believe it in the slightest, because I always say I pulled a 10 when I'm a 3. So but no, like I fully agree with everything Shelby says. Like we are all made in God's image. And that's something that I also need to work on myself. And because he is he's definitely the right one for me. I've been saying that since day one, since the moment I started speaking to this man. I was like, yeah, he's the one. Like I just know. Like I'm well aware. But it's really hard because sometimes when you do let your insecurities go like that, sometimes you just can't let them stop. Like they just won't stop. And because they're not stopping, they are projecting onto your partner, and then your partner will kind of give it back to you. And then all of a sudden you're being like, oh my gosh, no, you're like, you're not fat. Like you're so handsome. You're so pretty. Like, what are you talking about? And then it slowly kind of turns into an argument almost, when it's literally over nothing. And this is another thing, like my boyfriend, he will often tell me that he's like, oh, I think you're perfect. And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, but please, I'm not. Like, he knows I'm not, but like when he says I'm perfect, it's like a little, oh, but like I also need to humble myself and be like, you're not perfect. Like nobody is perfect, but at least you're, good enough for him. That's how I think of it. It's like, yeah, like I'm up to his standards and he's up to mine. And that's all that really should matter when it comes to that. Like your insecurities don't mean crap when it comes to your partner because they see you in a whole different light than anyone else does. And that's all that should matter in the end.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we oftentimes don't know how how your partner views you. So then you start to project. But in the end, you're enough.
Exactly.
Because that person did choose you.
Mm-hmm.
And a sea full of people, they were like, I want this person. And that definitely means something very special. But
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I agree with everything. And it's also not only for romantic relationships, but for friendships and the people you surround yourself with, to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that doesn't allow your insecurities to go from just words into actions. You want to be surrounded by people that will also protect you from yourself and from your own words. So
Yeah.
it's really important just to have those people to say, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
oh,
And
definitely.
really,
And call
truly
yourself
mean it.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure.
No, people like the best friends you're going to have are the ones who are going to humble you. And I know that sounds like kind of scary and kind of like, what the heck? But it's so true. Like, the ones who love you the most will also be the ones who humble you. And God knows everyone in society needs to get humbled right now. But it's just it's so true because like a majority of my friends humble me. My sorority littles humble me. Greg humbles me. But like my boyfriend humbles me. But in the end, it just helps you grow as a person. It helps you grow in the end. So, and that's something that you want to also fight for, even in not even just in relationships, but in friendships as well. It's like you want someone who's going to hype you up, but also be like, yeah, dial it down. Like, I'm humbling you. Listen to me. And you do the same for them.
Yeah. And it's also like, okay, that reminds me of that little cartoon where it's like the empathy cartoon. And so like there's a little person in the hole and then a doctor comes by and he's like, the guy in the hole is like, help, I need help. I'm in this hole, like I need help getting out. And the doctor's like, here's a prescription and throws a little paper down. And then a priest comes by and the person's like, help, I really need help. They write a little Bible verse, throw it down. Okay, that's great. What do I do with this now? And then an old lady comes by, jumps down into the hole with that person. And the person's like, why'd you come down here? Like, now we're both stuck. And the old lady's like, I've been down here before and I'm going to walk you out with me. Like, we're going to get through this hole together. And that's so important to have a relationship, both romantic and friendship, that goes down with you and really understands, like, what's like really hard for you, what are you insecure about, and walk you back into that place where you feel happy about yourself and happy about your life.
And where you feel safe too. As well. All right, we are coming to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope to catch you next time. Stay tuned for more episodes on depending on the guests that we have and all of that good stuff. I'm your host, Kate Ryan. My socials are Scoops Latest. That's my Instagram. And my personal Instagram is Kate J. Ryan with 2 N's. And my YouTube is also Scoops Latest. Shelby, what is your Instagram?
My Instagram is Shelby, SHELBY, period, Rosenhahn.
Period.
That's it. I'm not spelling the whole last name. It's a long name.
Reagan, what about you?
Yeah, so mine is Reagan, Reagan.